The 2025 Memphis Showboats have officially missed the playoffs. That's right, the Showboats, once again, will not be seeing a postseason. Now, this one actually hurts. Unlike last year, where it was a true failure for them to miss the playoffs, especially in the way they did, this year just hurts. Because this team is so much better than the team they had last year, but in the end, it didn't really matter. Now, before we go into looking at just how much better they are from last year, this is their fourth consecutive year missing the playoffs. There's no way to sugarcoat it. For those of you who are XFL fans who then became UFL fans and didn't know about this, the Showboats back in 2022 were the Tampa Bay Bandits. That Bandits team finished 4-6 and missed the playoffs. Then when they became the Showboats in 23, they actually finished 5-5, but in that great in that great South division, where you also had the Breakers, Stallions, and the Gamblers, who also finished 5-5 but won over tiebreaker, missed the playoffs. Then last year, of course, 2-8 only beat the Roughnecks twice and missed the playoffs. And this year, with the loss to the St. Louis Battlehawks in Week 7, they have been officially eliminated from playoff contention. This is rough. When you look at all of these teams in spring football, this is the roughest one to have missed again. Now, the Gamblers, yes, they also are more than likely, now they're the Roughnecks. Again, it depends exactly how you view their history. If you view it by the technical of them being Gamblers or by the EUFL version of the Roughnecks, this is the worst overall because this is a fourth consecutive season missing the playoffs, at worst a third. So officially from the UFL's perspective, it's 3, potentially 4. This is rough. Now the biggest issue is, of course, the difference from last year to this year. Yes, this might be a wall of text, but this wall of text is very important in showing why this is sad to see happen. Last year, I made one of the more famous rants in the channel about how pathetic this team was. This year is not that case. Now, yes, they have played 3 less games than last year. Obviously, these are the stats from all of last year versus this year's 7 games. There are a couple of stats that they were better at last year, but when you talk about points allowed as a defense, even with 3 games left, there's almost no way for Memphis to do nearly as bad. At the moment, they are actually 4th in points allowed with 117, so top half in the league. 3 more games, they're probably going to finish around like 150 to 160-ish, which will be about 100 better than last year when they were dead last. They were also dead last in yards per game allowed at 354 last year. This year, they're currently 5th at 269. Again, huge improvement. Now, overall sacks, they are worse than they were last year. Last year, they were tied for 5th at 19. This year, they're 8th, which is worse than the league at 8. But passes defended, they're both pretty bad last year, and this year, not dead last, but last. Turnover differential, they're both last, so this year is even worse. They're at -10 versus -6. But their takeaways are really bad. That's the biggest difference from last year to this year, is that this season they've only had 2 takeaways and are probably going to finish the season with if they get at least 1 more, they'll finish with 3. But last year they were actually tied for 3rd. But giveaways, they will be better. They're still on pace to end up giving away about 16 to 17-ish turnovers. But it's still going to be better than last year's 20, though it will still be worse than the league. Points scored, really weak and overall worse. But point differential, significantly better. They're at -45 right now versus last year they finished at -102. So even if they end up losing the next 3 games by 10 points each, they'll still finish almost 30 points better than last year. And offensively, yards per game, 34 yards better. They're 5th compared to last year's 8th. Passing yards per game, they're 5th this year at 182 compared to 165 last year in 8th place. 8th place in rushing yards per game again, but this time it's at basically 82 yards compared to the 65 last year. And sacks allowed. They've only allowed 9 sacks this season. That's actually 3rd best in the league compared to last year where they allowed 39, which is worse in the league. Now, third down percentage, of course, they went from 3rd last year to 7th this year. Overall, if you eliminate the takeaways pretty much, this team and the sacks is a much better team. As what I've been saying the last few weeks, this defense is not getting the sacks and turnovers that every other defense really is. And despite that, they're still significantly better in yards allowed. Legitimately, this team was basically a takeaway per game away from being a legit threat for the USFL conference, which is why it hurts so much to see them get eliminated like this. But it also comes down to the coaching issues. Yes, this is going to be the same thing we talk about tomorrow's eliminated video, but coaching with the team that got eliminated already. Ken Wisenhunt stepped away from the team right before kickoff. Wasn't said what it was, but it's believed to be health concerns. So then Jim Turner was the head coach for a week. Then, just out of nowhere, literally a week later, Wisenhunt is back to be the coach. He stuck around for a couple of games, and then he left again, this time permanently. So they've been dealing with this huge issue at the head coaching position and mainly the offense. This team was built, again, very similarly to the Brahmas, which we will talk about tomorrow in their eliminated video, and where they had a guy who was running the offense and a guy running the defense. Wisnott was the offensive guy. Jaron Horton, the newcomer for Memphis at DC, did the defense. Defense saw a lot of improvement. The offense saw some improvement, but not as much as the defense did. Granted, the defense didn't have the sacks takeaways, but still much better unit. Offense, not as much. And a lot of that is because of this issue. The quarterback play is another big one, but the fact is that Dresser Wynn, he's not the insane upgrade over E.J. Perry and T-Will that like a Jalen McClendon is over the Nolan Henderson or Anthony Brown. So I didn't really want to bring that up, but overall, it's a shame what happened in Memphis. So, yeah, they are eliminated again. This is now the 4th consecutive time, if you count their time as bandits, that they're getting one of these videos. It is a shame, because this team is much better than they were last year, but it is what it is. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video, like this video. And again, look out for tomorrow's video on the Brahmas. And as always, guys, have a great night.
And the Battlehawks now 5-2 after this impressive win. And the defense absolutely lights out against the Memphis Showboats.